Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Today, as you can tell by the title, we are talking about something spooky. I've been wanting to tell this story for a while, but while I lived at my mom's house, there's no way I was going to talk about it because it happened there. So this is a story about 2 years of my life where I had extreme activity happening in my room that I stayed in. A little bit of background before this story happened is my mom and her wife, me and my brother and my grandmother were all living together. They adopted my two little brothers, so all of us were living under one house. Well, they split, and my mom took me and my biological brother Nevin and my grandmother, and we moved into a duplex. So it was a 3-bedroom duplex, so all of the girls got a bedroom and Nevin got the basement. A couple years later, my little brothers ended up moving in with us. The only problem was we didn't have enough room, so we had to build a room onto the house. Now, the main floor of this house was just a living room and a kitchen. So the kitchen was in front, while the living room was in back. And the steps to go upstairs were also right when you walked in the front. So in the back of the house, there was a sliding glass door to a porch. What we ended up doing was taking the porch out and having someone build a room there. So this was to be my room. My little brothers were young enough to share a room together, so they took my old room upstairs and I moved in to this room at the back of the first floor. So I was the only one on the first floor when we were sleeping. This room being a new room, I didn't think that there could be anything connected to it. It's a new room. Why would something appear there? When I first moved into the room, everything was fine. I didn't really notice anything. I actually can't remember what happened for me to start noticing things happening, but the first big thing that happened was on my 22nd birthday. Me and a couple friends went out downtown Frederick, and then my friend Damien and my friend Aaron came home with me, and my room was set up so me and Aaron would sleep in the bed, and Damien had a blow-up mattress that was on the floor. So Aaron wanted to go to bed, and me and Damien didn't yet, so we were out in the garage just talking. All of a sudden, I get a text, and it's Aaron. It said, "Get in the room, I think there's a ghost in here." So me and Damien bolted into the room. Aaron was sitting up in bed, turned on the light, and she said, "Is there change in your drawer?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "It's jingling." So I was like, okay, well, we'll stay in here with you since, we're all kind of freaked out, weird vibes. So we're getting ready for bed, and all of a sudden we start hearing this whispering. And this whispering sounded, it's hard to explain because it sounded like an old woman voice, but we couldn't make out what she was saying. So we all just looked at each other and we were like, maybe the TV's on in the living room since it's right outside my door. So Damien opens the door and no one's downstairs, all the lights are off and the TV's not on. So me and Aaron get into bed and Damien gets on the air mattress and we're just like, okay, we're just gonna go to sleep. So we turn off the lights. I'm getting ready to fall asleep and I feel something grabbing my foot. So me, thinking it's Damien because his air mattress is on the floor at the end of my bed, I sit up really quick and I'm like, "Damien, stop." And he's just sitting there laying on his phone. So at this point, we're all just really freaked out and we're like, okay, we're just gonna go to bed. This all needs to stop. And the last thing I remember us laying in bed and hearing the door to the living room just jingling. Oh, actually, that's not the first thing that happened. So that was the second thing that happened. The first thing that happened, it was just me. So I decided to take a nap while my little brothers were at school. My brother Nevin was in the basement sleeping because he worked nights at this point. My mom was at work and my grandmother was in the garage. I'm laying in bed facing away from the door that connects to the living room, and I'm facing towards just a window. I wake up from this nap to the sound of my door opening, and you could hear my door open, and it was really hard to open because I had hardwood floors and the bottom of my door had this big long rubber stopper on the bottom. So it was really hard to push, and you could hear it sliding. I wake up to that sound, then I hear footsteps up to my bed, and I hear someone whisper, "Hey, you." So I turn over, thinking it's a family member, and my door is still shut and no one's in my room. So I freak out, run out to the living room, no one's there, Nevin's still sleeping. I go out into the garage and my grandmother's in there. Now she didn't believe in anything. She doesn't believe in spirits. So she was like, oh, it was just a dream. Then that birthday party happened. This next story, I'm sitting in the living room with my grandmother and my mother. We're watching TV, and out of the corner of our eye, we start seeing my door closing, and you can hear it close. It had the rubber stopper on the bottom. So we look over, and we're just watching my door close. And it was like time stood still. It starts closing, and then it latches. And I looked at them, and my Nan's like, oh, Nan is what we call grandmother. She was like, oh, it's probably just the AC. But why would the AC do it this one time? And it never happened before. So me and my mom just kind of looked at each other. We were like, okay. I didn't go in there for a while, that's for sure. As I continue to live in this room, I'm having nightmares. I'm waking up from my nightmares out of breath or feeling like I can't breathe. I just have an uneasy feeling in there all the time. And I don't really know what to do because this is my room. This is where I live. There's no way I can move out of it. So I kind of just had to deal with it. And it's funny because I always said previously that if anything like this happened, I'd be out. Someone else would be in that room. I wouldn't stay there. I'd go live somewhere else. But that just wasn't an option. And I figured that out the hard way. I started dating this person. And they were kind of sketched out by the room too, especially when I started talking about things that happened. Well, they would stay the night every once in a while, and this one time, I get woken up to them jumping in bed, and I said, what's wrong? And they said, oh, I thought I saw an old woman sitting in the corner of your room. Well, that really freaked me out because one, the old woman voice that we heard previously, and two, he slept on the side by the window, which I refused to sleep in because I always felt like someone was in that corner of the room. Sorry, that was my cat. Scared me a little. Basically, I don't know. Like, I keep telling more stories, and I don't know why. I stayed in this room. I mean, I had my mom come in and sage it a couple times, thinking that would help, but... So at this point of the story, I always have someone over sleeping in that room with me, whether it's a friend or someone that I was dating. Well, this particular night, I had two friends over and the person I was dating. For some reason in this room, no heat worked in it. The heat didn't go to the room and it was never warm. So we had to get a portable heater to sit in the room that plugged into the outlet. Well, this portable heater had doors on it that you would open, and in there was the control panel to turn it on and off and to adjust the settings. So my two friends are asleep in my bed, and I took the air mattress with the person I was dating. In the middle of the night, we're woken up to the sound of someone pushing the buttons in the heater and it turns off. But we look over and the cabinets are still closed and my friends are asleep. It's just little things like this that would happen, and I don't really have an explanation for them. The next thing that I remember happening is the person I was dating was over. We were in my room, and we decided to go into the living room. Well, on the way out, I was following them out of the room, and right before you get to my door, I had a closet with accordion doors on it, and the closet door just falls off its hinges onto them. So we screamed, and my mom came running in, and she was like, what happened? And we were like, I don't know, it just fell off the hinges. No explanation, this never happened before. We put the closet door back on its hinges and just left. And I feel like I'm just telling these stories, and I'm like, oh, and then, we just left the room. And we really did. There was nothing I could do at this point, and I didn't know what to do. In this last story, this was the final straw. This made me leave the room. Oh, Scarlett scared me when she walked in the frame. This made me leave the room. I And this is why. At this point, I had broken up with the person I was seeing, and I was single. So if I had to sleep in the room alone, I would either do that or I would sleep in the living room. If I had any weird vibes, I was in the living room sleeping. This particular night, I wanted to sleep in my room and be comfortable. Everyone understands that. So I asked my brother Nevin, because at this point he wasn't working nights anymore, I asked him to pull in this chair and this ottoman that we had in the living room into my room, because there was enough space to fit it. I asked him if he could just sit in there with me and watch TV. This wasn't uncommon, because every night we usually watch TV together anyway in the living room. I believe we were watching Futurama, and I'm trying to go to sleep. All of a sudden, on my bedside table, which is on the side where the window is and where my ex said that they thought they saw someone, I had a Snapple plastic bottle. Well, it started getting lifted up and set back down and then wobbling. And I looked at Nevin, and he doesn't believe in anything either. All he believes in is aliens. That's it. So Nevin says, it's just carbonation. To which I reply, there's no carbonation in tea. It's a Snapple bottle tea. Well, every couple minutes, that sound kept happening. Like it was getting lifted up and put back down. And it was a quick sound. It wasn't like it was hovering. It was just like, it was wobbling around. Eventually, after a couple of times, it stops. And Nevin decides, okay, I'm gonna go to bed now. So he leaves my room and goes back to the basement. Well, I try to calm myself down and I say, you know what? It's gonna be fine. I'm just gonna fall asleep here. Next thing I know, I'm not even 5 minutes after I close my eyes to try to go to sleep, it does it again. And I bolted out of the room, went to the living room. I'm like crying at this point, and I turn on the TV because I just want to go to sleep. I just want to sleep in my bed. I just want to be comfortable. So I'm watching TV. Not even 5 minutes later, I hear the bottle fall off onto the floor and start rolling around. I lose it. I start bawling my eyes out. I run upstairs. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning at this point, so I didn't want to wake anyone up. So I locked myself in the main bathroom upstairs and just laid on the floor crying until my mom woke up for work. So the next day, I'm moving out of the room. I'm moving into my little brother's room, and they're moving into this room. This room was a little bigger, so they'd have more space to be together. Oh my gosh, Scarlett is running around. It's freaking me out. The last thing I remember is my grandmother and one of my little brothers were helping me move all my stuff out, and I had this little bookshelf that had some jewelry on it, and I heard my jewelry getting moved around on it. After that, I never walked into that room. I maybe stood in it for a minute, if that. I don't go in there. My littlest brother is the only one in there now because when I moved out of the house, they were able to get 2 different rooms. He's never said anything. He doesn't know any of these stories, so if you're watching, I'm sorry that you're just now realizing this, but they don't believe in ghosts anyway. They don't believe in spirits, so what you don't... Oh my god. What you don't believe won't hurt you, so he's been fine so far. I hope you guys enjoyed this story, and if you guys have any scary stories, let me know below, or... Oh my gosh, she is going crazy. What is going on? If you guys have any stories, let me know in the comments below, or if you've made a video about them. Or if you have any videos about them, comment them down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. I never know how to end these things. I need like a sign-off thing, but apparently me saying I don't know how to end these things is my sign-off. So, I don't know how to end these things. See you guys later.